Time for sports with Bill Jones.
Bartolo Colon keeps the world champs in check. Can the Rangers make it stand? And coming up at 10:35, look who's back with us, Dez Bryant.
Look who's here. Bill, did you know Dez Bryant got released?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Continue our Cowboys draft memorable moments. Cowboys first-round draft picks usually make their initial impressions on the football field. But one future Hall of Famer made quite a first impression with his draft day outfit.
Emmitt Smith made quite a first impression in DFW after he was drafted by the Cowboys in 1990.
Who could forget that? Only Emmitt Smith can show up in polka dots, bright yellow polka dots. Kind of looked like a confused bumblebee or something.
Smith's fashion sense didn't set a new standard off the field, but the running back raised the bar with his style on the field.
I think it's an incredible memory. You take a look at Emmitt now, and I think he will say that he's improved his fashion sense, but he has to attribute that to his wife, Pat.
Same draft day outfit Babe Laufenberg had. And Babe will be joining us to talk Dez in just a moment.
Yeah, if you didn't just aggravate him too much. Come back. Thank you, sir. We'll look forward to that. No doubt about it. Hey, we're talking about life after, for the Dallas Cowboys after Dez Bryant. Here is Bill Jones. Bill?
Yes, so much to talk about tonight. It will go down as the most memorable Friday the 13th in Cowboys history. 3 months of offseason speculation culminates in D-Day for Dez on Friday. And we're breaking it all down with Babe Laufenberg in just a moment. Dez Bryant driving away from the Star just before noon on Friday after a short meeting with Jerry Jones where he was told the Cowboys are going in a different direction. Remains to be seen what direction Dez is headed, and not surprising that he's been doing a lot of talking and tweeting, playing the blame game with just about as much passion as he plays the game of football.
I asked, some of them to be a man about some of the situations a long time ago, and they could. Just to be honest, some of the coaches, man. And if somebody don't like me, I would love to know that.
There's a narrative being floated out there, Dez, that some teammates had something to do with this decision.
Garrett guys, I would say that. And little do they know is, they can wear that C all they want to. But in that locker room, everybody know where the real love is at.
I'm sure he's hearing stuff, and I'm sure he's getting it from a lot of different ways. So, I'm not going to finger point at anybody. I'm not going to get upset for who he's pointing at or who he thinks did this. So, it's a business, and it's part of it.
Not surprisingly, some scorched earth left behind as Dez departs Dallas. And now joining me is Babe Laufenberg, who just can't wait to weigh in on Dez and so much more. Welcome, Babe.
Thank you, Bill, and I don't think you're going to make me wait long.
No, we're going to dive in
yes,
right
sir.
now. And, okay, so, Babe,
yeah,
how did we get to this point?
That's a great question, because I'll tell you what, I sat there in the booth at Philadelphia, Cowboys' final game of the season against the Eagles, right? And we're winding it up at the end of the broadcast and talking about having to sign Anthony Hitchens, which they didn't, of course. Bryce Butler will be a free agent, going through all these different scenarios of what's going to happen for next season. Never in my wildest dreams did it ever occur to me to say to Brad Sham, and Brad, of course, Dez won't be on the team, so how are they going to replace him? He would have looked at me like I'm crazy, but Bill, here we are. Yes. He's not on the team.
But we could see it coming by what the Cowboys had done in the offseason and the speculation the last 3 months.
Well, as the offseason unfolded.
As it unfolded,
at the end of the year,
yeah,
nobody was
exactly.
Yeah.
But now we just hear Dak denying any involvement, of course. Do you think any players were involved in this decision at all?
I don't think so. Where that narrative started, I'm not exactly sure, but it's not like anybody went up into Jerry Jones' office and said, we need to get rid of Dez Bryant. Clearly, this has been something that's been brewing really ever since they signed him. If the Cowboys wanted to find Dez in his first 2 years with the football team, he might have had a negative. He might have owed the Cowboys money. So there's been a lot going on for a lot of years, and I always go back to Don Shula, who said, we will tolerate you until we can replace you. And Dez had some fantastic years. Let's not forget that. He had 3 of the best years of any Cowboy receiver in their history. But when you're not producing, then they don't put up with you the way they used to.
What do you make of calling out the Garrett guys, those with the C on the...
Well, it doesn't make sense to me because, number one, I don't think there's anybody that's more well-respected than Jason Witten, than Dak Prescott, than Dan Bailey, Sean Lee, the guys that have the C. So where that came from,
had a really positive effect on Dez during his time here.
Oh, I think Jason Witten brought the guy along as much as he could. So the notion that they all went up to Jerry Jones' office and said, hey, we got to get rid of Dez. That didn't happen.
All right, how about calling out the coaches?
It's interesting just in the sense that you talk about Garrett guys. There was no bigger Garrett guy than Dez Bryant. I'll make the argument that Jason Garrett did as much for Dez Bryant, not only in his football life, but I mean his personal life, just developing Dez Bryant, the person, as anybody on the face of the earth. So the notion that Jason Garrett somehow undermined Dez Bryant here, again, that didn't happen. There was no bigger supporter of Dez, and I think, quite honestly, Bill, to his detriment at times, than Jason Garrett. It's one thing to support a guy, it's another to be an enabler, and I think sometimes that crossed the line.
Scott Linehan, I mean, there was some criticism that Dez put out there at the end of the regular season about the offense, and there's talk about making the offense more Dak-friendly.
I always got to go back. You know this, Bill. I loved Bill Parcells. I love anybody named Bill. My dad was Bill, you're Bill Parcells. But one of the reasons I can't go to Wade Phillips is because Wade would say, well, whatever Jerry wants. And I can't use a Jason Garrett soundbite because Jason would say, well, he's been a good player in this league for a long time. So I'm going to go back to Bill Parcells. When he left, he hit the nail on the head. He wasn't saying it about this situation, but it applies.
Players are human beings. They're going to protect themselves. So when things don't go well, it's not going to be, it's going to be the coach or the system. Didn't let me do this.
Is that 2007 there, Bill, or is that 2018? Because that's what we've been hearing, right?
That's
the system.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same system that was fantastic in 2014, fantastic in 2016. Set a Cowboys record, by the way, with 8 consecutive games of 30-plus points in 2016. It's the same system. So,
all right, so is this team better without Dez Bryant?
I would say no. Now, unless you subscribe to the theory of addition by subtraction, and that could be a possibility. But are they as good lining up tomorrow without Dez Bryant as they were 2 days ago with him? I'll make the argument that they're not. Now, a lot still to be happening in the draft come April, coming to our town, as we well know. So that wide receiver position may look a lot different on April 27th than it does today.
All right, so let's take a look at the current wide receiver core. I mentioned off the top, you could sort of see this coming by the signing of Allen Hurns in free agency, Deontay Thompson. They had too many wide receivers for the positions on the inventory was larger than what they would be playing with. So you got Allen Hurns, Terrence Williams, Cole Beasley, Deontay Thompson, Switzer, Brown, and other guys.
Right, and there's one more coming.
That's right.
Out of the draft.
That's exactly right.
I'm not so sure in this draft, Bill, that there's that first round. I know people like Calvin Ridley. He's kind of the top guy in this draft. I'll be honest with you, though. I like the kid out of Maryland.
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore.
I do, too.
To me, he's my guy. Now,
have you been looking in my big green NFL draft scouting notebook?
No, I like that we think alike. And here's another guy you need to keep your eye on, Bill. That's James Washington, the wide receiver out of Oklahoma State. Reminds me a little bit of a faster version of Anquan Bolden. We know the kind of career Bolden had.
That's high praise.
It is, but also he's projected to be a second rounder, so you get somebody else up top in your first round, get him in the second, and to me that'd be a heck of an addition. And I will say this, the last couple of years, the wide receiver crop, the second rounders have been better than the first. So it's not like there's a clear-cut guy. There's not a Julio Jones in this draft at that position.
All right, you mentioned DJ Moore. Do you think when you study him, can he be that X-receiver? A lot of people compare him to like a Steve Smith type. And is it important to get an X-receiver, a guy to replace Dez there, or is it just getting the best wide receiver regardless?
I think your second point, the best guy, and I think people get a little bit caught up in that X guy and the Z guy. Now, if you're talking Cole Beasley, yeah, you're going to have a limited role. But there's no question in my mind. He's a very explosive guy. DJ Moore, very impressed. Strong lower body, breaks tackles. He's kind of the prototype almost for today's NFL. Would you like him a little taller? Sure. But I think you can win with him.
All right, the whole idea here, making this offense quote-unquote Dak-friendly. Yes. What effect does it have on Dak Prescott that Dez Bryant is no longer on this team?
I think it puts a little bit of pressure on him, and it clearly, we knew it was Dak's team from the get-go, but there's a little more pressure on him from that standpoint. But, hey, if you're the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, a lot of things happen, right? You're going to have to deal with a ton. And he's had to deal with it. Very first year, right? The whole, does Romo play when he comes back and is healthy? He went through that. He's going to go through this. Troy Aikman did it his very first year. He gets drafted #1 overall, and guess what? Jimmy Johnson drafts Steve Walsh in the supplemental draft, gives up a #1 pick for him, and Troy says, really? So Jerry Jones loves to say, hey, it comes with the dinner. Well, guess what, Dak? This comes with the dinner, too.
All right, we've got much more with Babe Laufenberg straight ahead tonight. In fact, more on Dez. What next for Dez? You know revenge is on his mind wherever he goes next.
I'm gonna make sure Jock Dog Street, I'm gonna post that on Twitter. And then I'm gonna let them know why I do this. Why I do this. I'm gonna let it be known why I do it.
Ah, yes, a memorable scene from the Dez Bryant era of Dallas Cowboys football. Babe Laufenberg with me tonight. We're talking all things Dez and Cowboys here. All right, what is the most likely landing spot for Dez Bryant? What do you think?
Okay, I have no inside information on this, Bill, because no one ever does, because it's the New England Patriots, right? And we still don't know why Malcolm Butler didn't start in the Super Bowl or play it down. But the Patriots, are they not the logical reclamation project for Dez Bryant? And Bill Belichick could bring him in, you know, a 1-year contract. It'll be incentive laden. 2 weeks into it, Dez spouts off, he's gone. It doesn't not make too much sense for you. And here, how about the irony here, Bill? The Cowboys drafted Dez in that 2010 draft at 24. They traded up with New England to get him. Cowboys were at 27, traded up to 24 to get him. New England thought he had character issues, but not so much that they didn't take Hernandez in the 4th round that year, and we saw how that turned out. Okay.
All right, do you want him on your team?
Like Babe Laufenberg's team?
Babe Laufenberg. Do you want him on your team?
Yeah, Babe Laufenberg brings him in.
All right, you're not a decision maker on an NFL team.
Yeah, but much like Bill Belichick, I'm going to say, here's the way it is, Des. And if you don't adhere to this, you're gone. So you don't make it something that's going to strap you cap-wise. But yeah, here's the thing, too. Dez Bryant is not a bad guy. He's not a bad person. Matter of fact, he's a good person. He's got maturity issues, obviously, that manifested themselves in the way he's conducted himself over these last couple of days, and I guess really throughout his career here. But there's some bad guys out there. Dez isn't one of them. He's a good guy that sometimes doesn't handle things the right way.
All right, so how difficult will it be for him to find a new team?
It won't be difficult. Now the question will be how many years and how much money. I don't really see him getting a long-term contract. He'll be 30 in November, and then if you do that, make good, do a year, well, then the next year he comes up for contract, he's at 31. But all it takes is one. We know that, right? Little League.
But that
Little League, right? Bill, worst hitter.
The stuff we see in the locker room, does that affect other teams as far as their decisions to sign?
Yeah, I think one of the things that affects Dez to an extent is the way he has handled this and kind of pointing out the captains, pointing out the coaching staff. Now, do you want to take that on? I do know this. He and Jason Garrett had a conversation, and I think the crux of it was Jason Garrett telling Dez, you kind of want to take the high road here. So he is still instructing Dez, even after Dez is gone, how to go about his business. And Dez is not handling this the right way. Now, you can say keep it real and all that other stuff, but other teams are looking at this. Other teams are looking at the way he handles this and saying, well, is he holding himself accountable? If he's not, we don't want him on our team.
All right, still more with Babe to come. An update on the most important member of the Laufenberg family coming up next. Final minute here with Babe Laufenberg. Let's get an update on one Luke Laufenberg, 19 years old, college football player, been battling leukemia since Christmas. How's Luke doing now?
Yeah, sounds like an injury update. Actually, well, thank you, Bill. Just got released from the hospital today, so we just finished up round 5 of chemo. He's doing great, putting some weight back on, gained about 30 pounds. This was when we checked in last Thursday, getting ready for round 5. So one more round, and he's good to go. But he's been doing great, and I appreciate so much all the support. Quick story, though, Bill. Friday, he had to go in for a procedure, and he's under general anesthesia. He comes out of the anesthesia around noon there. I have to break it to him that Dez Bryant, who's his favorite player, is no longer on the team. He said, oh, you got to call Coach Garrett. You can't do this. I said, well, I think it's above him, and it's already happened.
And very soon, Luke Laufenberg and Babe Laufenberg right here on CBS 11. How about that? We're thoughts and prayers with Luke. Thanks to Babe, and CBS 11 News continues in a moment.